All right, everybody. Adam back with another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. And today, we're going to take a little turn, not necessarily from like a bow hunting standpoint, but just from like a hunting and conservation standpoint. Going to talk about some things that have affected hunting in Michigan here recently, and one of the maybe the loudest voice that I've seen about it. I've seen a lot of people um, with the deer, I want to say it's like the deer commission from the NRC where they, took some uh
A DMI.
volunteers to come on and kind of do some things. And we actually had a guy come and speak at our local Bowman's Club. One of the guys is actually local to us. He came over spring break, so I wasn't able to see that, but I did have a good conversation with him, and may get him on the podcast here coming up. But I've got Josh Mapes from Overdrive Outdoors, really big into the predator hunting side of this, and that's kind of what's been affected the most. And we've had some of the guys from Howl from Wildlife on here. We've actually had some of their syndicated podcasts on here. And one of the biggest things that they talk about is how, we always say it can't happen to us. Oh, that's in New Jersey. I don't hunt bears in New Jersey, so it's not a big deal to me. I'm not real excited about hunting Washington. It's not going to happen here. And then, kind of we had, the rug pulled out from under us in some ways here in the state of Michigan. So I wanted to bring on Josh Mapes, and he's probably the only guy that I've ever had on here, returning guest, who has actually had a verb made out of him. So there's something called Mapes. And I've seen that a few times. I've seen it, I think, on some shirts and some other things. So can you tell us what that is, Josh, before we get into this?
So, oh man, that was probably 2016, 2017 when we were started to be able to use center fire at nights for coyotes, and I got into night vision. Now, I had one problem for sure. I did have a scope, and a lot of people could back me on this, that would not hold a zero. Okay, it was a problem, but I was known for mapsing a lot of coyotes, which is an acronym for missed another pretty easy shot. Just so happens to be my last name, but yeah, that was a surprise that showed up on a television show, just out of the blue when a friend of ours missed a coyote, and all of a sudden, boom, this big old banner that says Mapes it. And I'm like, what in the, I never knew anything was coming on TV with that. But they're like, yeah, from now on, when you miss a pretty easy shot, that's what it's called. You Mapes that coyote. So yeah, it that's how it got to be known, man. And I mean, got to be known for something, I guess.
So I figured we'd start it off a little bit light because in talking with Josh prior to this, he said he may get a little heated on this topic here. So can you kind of tell us what has happened in the predator hunting in the state of Michigan here most recently?
Yeah, so I mean, again, I'll go back to 2016. We were fighting to be allowed to use center fire rifles at night because we were tired of being restricted to a rimfire or a shotgun. I like killing coyotes. I don't like watching coyotes spin and run off to die somewhere for somebody else to find. So we fought. I was not heavily involved in the fight at all. There was a lot of guys who were, but at that point, I was number one. I don't want to get involved in the political BS that I know this is going to be. And I had other stuff going on, but I wasn't as heavily involved as I should have been in that. But at the same time of fighting for bigger firepower so that we could effectively kill coyotes rather than just wound them all, the DNR and the NRC themselves put in place a year round coyote season because they were tired of the complaints that they were getting. They were getting so many calls from people about coyotes, they knew something had to be done. Now you fast forward to March of this year, the NRC meeting. The first one, I believe it was March. It might have been February, but I think it was March. The first one that brought any of this into the light for the NRC, and the NRC meetings, if you follow Michigan United Conservation Clubs on Facebook at all, they do live recordings of these on their Facebook page as they're happening. And it's once a month that they do this. But I mean, the hardest part for all of this was that a couple of fellow hunters got up on the stand in front of PETA, in front of Project Coyote, in front of HSUS, in front of Attorneys for Animals, in front of the DNR, in front of the NRC, and in front of everybody watching and able to go back and watch this live feed. And these hunters literally, I mean, brought the pitchforks with them to end our season on coyotes, and it effectively got it done. So the NRC in April, I believe, don't quote me on any of the dates, but the next meeting after that one, which I believe was April, right at the beginning of April, it was a 4-2 vote on the NRC. The NRC said it's been proven that hunting isn't effective for coyotes. But then they also said that the calls have stopped. They don't get nearly as many complaints now as they used to. So we need to go back to a 9-month season because it will, and this is quotes from them, possibly not 100% accurate wording, but social science says that we need to stop killing females in the summertime that might have puppies. No biological science, no data, no research, no population data, no take data. They said that essentially, since they allowed us to go year round and use night vision, thermal, and centerfire, that we've been ineffective and that the kill rate has not increased. Nobody's killing more, nobody's hunting more. And basically, yeah, they pulled it right out from underneath us because it might look bad. I mean, there's no other way to put that. That's what they did it for. It might look bad, so we're going to change this now before it gets bad with the anti-hunters.
So the NRC is the Natural Resource Commission, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And then who comprises the NRC? And then I guess go into like, when you say that there was these hunters that went up in front of the NRC, what was their reasoning, or what was their motives, I guess, if you can kind of guess, or kind of.
I mean, that would be a guess or speculation on motives. But I believe, I mean, I've talked to, and I'll make it clear on here for everybody. My name is Josh Mapes with Overdrive Outdoors, and I have no problem with you legally hunting your way, no matter how you do it. I don't have to agree to it. Adam and I were talking about leasing farms and growing big bucks and telling people not to shoot them prior to recording. I'm not a guy that's going to tell people not to shoot a deer, but if that's your thing, I'm also not going to try to stop it. But we've heard from houndsmen, we've heard from people who, you know, there's multiple different ways to go kill coyotes. I choose a call and a rifle. That's how I like to do it. There's trapping, there's hound running, there's people that used to, and I know some still do, get permission on blocks. And in the wintertime, when they can find good snow and good tracks, they'll just go in and kind of do like a deer drive for the coyotes. And they're effective that way. But I've heard complaints for the last few years from people that, number one, you're not getting hardly any snow anymore. So it's hard to put a hound out on a coyote track when there is less coyotes around. You don't have so many days that you can go find snow and actually get on them. And it's the same from the people that push them. I've heard it from them. Blocks that we used to run all winter time and find tracks and kill them in every week, we can't even find tracks in. There's a lot of people hunting coyotes anymore. So my speculation on it, well, what the hunters said at this meeting, and I'll call them specifically, they were houndsmen, two very high-ranking houndsmen from very high-ranking houndsmen's groups, got up and said that it was all because of how we portray ourselves on the internet. And there's parts of that I do not disagree with. I mean, there's parts of me, there's things that I post, there's things that I say that probably shouldn't leave my mind or my mouth, and I know that. But I would also not pretend to be perfect in that arena. The problem is that they were so willing to get up and just do this to other hunters rather than being men about it. and taking it to the hunters that you have a problem with. There's always going to be bad apples. There's going to be people doing stuff. There's going to be people showing stuff. And again, I've been one of them. I've posted pictures that probably weren't the most tasteful thing. But for me, a lot of what I post is I try to do things for learning. Man, I love these animals so much. I love to learn more about them. So when I find a cool photo opportunity that helps me see certain stages of life or certain fur conditions or bullet damage, even so I know what the bullet that I'm choosing is doing, I might post that. But for a lot of reasons, that's so other people can make decisions. You know, if you're looking for a rifle to go to buy for coyote hunting, it helps to have something to go back and see. You know, that's what I want. I don't want that coyote to run away. So a bigger hole in fur, you know, that's the kind of stuff I like to show. But again, that kind of stuff can be taken and used against us, and it absolutely does, and it absolutely has. I mean, there's been, and I'll tell you straight up, Adam, I already forgot the majority of what you said. I'm going off speculation right now still, but there's been videos that have been made on anti-hunting pages using pictures that we've posted, using videos that we've posted. And the way that they can spin everything is to pull on those heartstrings as hard as they possibly can. Just like any HSUS commercial or Save the Wildlife or these 37,000 dogs need adoption and I'm a multi-billionaire, but I need you to donate your pennies. Those kind of videos are specifically made to pull on your heartstrings and make you really want to give and help that poor little animal. But we don't have that in the hunting community. That's not really how we play the game. I mean, the majority of us, Adam, just want to do what we want to do and we want to be left alone to do it. But when I mean, for me, for instance, you know, my page gets seen by many, 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 many people. What I post on there can be taken and used against us. And again, it's been proven. So the NRC is is made up of election or people put in that position by our lovely governor. If that helps anybody tell kind of the direction on where things are going, Democratic side, and I'm not calling any sides out, but we kind of know an agenda that's always been pushed on one specific side. She gets in office, she puts these people on the NRC. I don't have a hard time seeing why they would all of a sudden be voting against hunting rights. But I also don't know how to change that. Besides, what I've always heard was the way you vote matters. And I think we just saw that proof again.
So why I think this is important, and if people have like still stuck around and said, well, I don't, you know, instead of saying like, well, I don't coyote hunt, or this doesn't affect me, so it's not a big deal. How do you see this transferring over? Or can you see this transferring over into the whitetail world?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and also, you know, the old saying, like, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Do you see this ever being rescinded, or how would this get rescinded back to a year-round season?
Well, and see, that's the other thing is I don't want everybody to think that the only care I have is about my coyote hunting. I mean, I do. I do strongly, strongly care about my coyote season. I've told this to a few people, but I'll say it out loud. When I was 17 and I found coyote hunting and my wife, those are the two reasons I'm even still here because they both had a part in saving me. Just I was a person who wasn't happy with anything. I didn't want to be here. I found two loves, one of them being coyote hunting, and then eventually they make it so we can go year round. And I'm like, man, that you know how much I love to do this. I'm out there more than the average guy, even if it's just for a walk with a shotgun and a call for a while. That's how I clear my brain, so I am particularly pissed off about them taking away this season, especially for no reason, no good reason, no reason that they could have changed it. But that's where it gets even stickier. The biggest problem is that in 1996, the voters of Michigan voted on what is known as Proposal G. I cannot quote it directly, but you can look it up. That basically states in there as a law that they are not allowed to change any of our seasons or anything like that without scientific, biological data, research, all that kind of stuff to back the reason why they need to change it. They had none of that. They brought none of that. We presented it. Guys on our side presented data, and it was almost like just pushed off the table as the NRC specific commissioner, Tom Baird, said, "I have my own data." Well, we'd like to see that data, and nobody can get anybody to show us that data. Nobody can get anybody to show us any anti-hunters complaints about anything like this. The only complaints that came in were directly from these houndsmen that wanted this change. And again, I have no problem with how you do things, but to come attack us, to take our season away and push it so hard the way they did. And again, I encourage everybody, go watch the live feed public comment portions. The way they went about it was just dirty. And in the end, what they did by taking this season away with no data, with no research, with no stats, with no nothing, was telling the anti-hunting groups, if you don't like it, we'll change it. And I think if we cannot get this changed around through lawsuits, which there's been 2 of them filed now, one through MUCC and one through Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association. If we can't get it changed, I fear that, yes, they will walk on everything because now they know how easy it is. And when you get other hunters backing it at the same time, it just became 10 times easier. That is my problem because I have kids. I got a 13, a 12, and almost an 11-year-old. And I want them to hunt. They've all hunted. They've all taken deer. They're not necessarily even near as deep into it as I am. But in 10, 15 years, my fear is that they're going to finally say, Dad, I want to go hunting with you again. And I'll have to say, I can't. What are we going to go hunting for? They've taken everything. And that's where they're starting. And as you mentioned to begin with, I was that guy that always sat there and I said, that's over there. That place is full of these type of people. Of course, they're not going to want it. If you don't like it, move somewhere else. Well, now it's here. And I never thought it would be. I never thought that I'd be being told that I can no longer go hunt a nuisance animal because of how it might appear to other people on the outside. If that's what they're going to base everything off of, I mean, how soon is it that they tell you that you can't hunt after November 15th because there might be pregnant does? If that's going to happen, when are they going to say that landowners can no longer get crop damage permits for May hunts when there's fawns on the ground? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that, yes, it might be reaching, it might be grasping at straws, but in the end, is it really? Because I wanted to hunt coyotes and they just took it. I mean, just like it was nothing to them. If they can make it that easy for this, they just prove that. And now we're doing everything we can, man, to make the NRC know that we're trying to teach them the F around and find out method. And honestly, I don't know how it's going to go. I hope it goes in our favor, and we're going to keep on trying to make it go in our favor the best we can. But it's scary. I mean, your kids, you want your kids to hunt, man. Your daughter shot her first deer last year. She loved it. I could tell by the video, the emotion from it. She loved it. But in 10 years, is she not going to be able to go out with her dad because an anti-hunter or somebody outside says, "Yeah, I don't really like how that looks. We need to change it." I mean, how grasping at straws is that really?
So what is the new season? What are the dates on the new season? And how was that immediate when it took effect, or?
Yeah, so as soon as they voted on that in April and signed that, it was done. I mean, when they signed over a center fire at night and year round, as soon as they signed that and said it was, that vote was over, it was done. You could go hunting that day with a center fire. So they effectively closed us from April 15th through July 15th, which is exactly the season that we used to have when the DNR was tired of getting all the complaints on coyote problems. So they put us back. They backpedaled big time. And now my goal, and I'm telling landowners that call me, Call the DNR. Start reporting this stuff, every one of them, to the DNR. You hear them, call the DNR. You see them, call the DNR. Be a pain in their butts because they did this to themselves. I mean, we're so restricted right now with so many gray lines that they've made it so unclear for the majority of us that most of us don't even want to go risk trying to do a nuisance hunt. And yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of stuff about this that I don't like.
Well, the reason I ask is because I didn't know the answer. Um, but I had heard on another podcast that there was some speculation and how this ties into Michigan deer hunting in the deer season
Mhm.
is those same dates are the dates when there's going to be fawns on the ground, just like you said. And
Mhm.
the Michigan is basically saying you need to kill more does. Here's 10, you can buy 10 doe tags, kill more does. And the hunters aren't doing that, or the hunter numbers are going down. So there's speculation, conjecture, whatever, that this will help bring the deer population down.
Yeah, I think they're blowing smoke. I mean, I think that that's definitely could have been a push from the back somewhere, saying, if we take away coyote season, more fawns will get killed. There will be less deer. I definitely think that that's a possibility, but I don't think that's anywhere that this began. I literally, this vote originally happened at what was a fur taker users group, and I don't know the exact number of people. I think there's supposed to be 10 people in this user group. I don't know who was invited. I don't know who was there. I know very few people on that list of people who were there, but it was talked about originally there. And there was a lot of people that said that, yeah, they would support a season change. Well, if you look at the minutes for that meeting, the people who would support a meeting change were the majority of hound hunters. Again, that just because you support it doesn't mean you got to go fight against all of us. And the way it was done was so dirty that, man, I would never want to take anything like that. I would rather I would rather me do a face to face with Adam Miller and say, hey, man, we got some problems in this and we need to get them changed, rather than go absolutely tar and feather us in front of everybody who hates even the people who were up there giving them all the data. You know what I mean? Like, these people thought it's like me it's like me going and saying, I don't like hound hunting, so I think that hound hunting should be illegal, and I'm going to take that to the NRC and I hope that they pass it, and then pretending that that's where the anti-hunters are going to stop. You're a fool for thinking that. You gave them everything to walk on. You gave them every bit of information they needed. May or may not have been sharing photos with specific groups to help them get this removed. Um, and that again is a speculation, but I've seen a lot of stuff about it. Um, you know, yeah, I kind of lost track again. So
Well, obviously you're very passionate about this, and it's something that's, obviously hit home. And I think that there would be, a lot more people talking about it. There would be a lot more upset. There would be a lot more um, angst if it were, if we were to, in my head, what I'm hearing and trying to put this on something that would be contextually is like if the bow hunters, which we, obviously are a big part in, we went to the NRC and said, look at all these crossbow hunters, everything
bro,
that's going on.
exactly.
Like, we don't want crossbow hunters. And if we look at all these people and we go to any of these pages, which are like the, where there's all these tree stands left out and there's all these guys leaving their stuff, bad examples of hunters. And we just picked out that we decided as a couple of guys that had a platform that we're going to ostracize these crossbow hunters because they're obviously the ones that are leaving their pop-up blinds in the woods. They're the ones that are leaving all their, just because that's what the picture that we want to paint, that they're the bad hunters. And then all of a sudden they say, all right, well, great. We're going to say, no more archery because crossbows during archery season. So we're going to
Exactly,
say no
brother.
more archery. And we're like, whoa, hold on a second. That's not what
Yeah,
we wanted. But that's, the, I guess the in, that's the loophole. That's the opening that we gave them. And then they
correct.
took it,
Correct.
to a
Absolutely.
different thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. And again, you think they're only going to take to crossbow hunting because you don't agree with it? If they take it, man, they're taking it. And they ain't going to stop taking it. Look at I mean, you can go online and look at all these states that are following suit, or we technically followed suit for a lot. I think it was Colorado on the same day banned, what was it, mountain lion trapping or hunting or something at the same time. Um, and Colorado, again, certain way. And there's other states that have started banning stuff, again, certain way. Look at California. It's specifically a certain way. And now there's people getting attacked by mountain lions because nobody can do anything about it. It just, like you said, it's kind of shooting yourself in the foot. You ask for them to do this one little thing and you think it's going to make everything better. Well, man, if you care about hunting as much as you say you do, you should be darn well trying your best to make sure that everybody's doing everything legally and that everybody's getting along. And any problems that you got, man, we're all grown adults. We can have a conversation instead of you, in my opinion, going and crying to Big Daddy and making a change for the whole entire state that is just going to make everything worse. That's where the screw up, man. And again, you gave them the stepping stones. You told them how easy it was. You showed them how easy it was for them to just rip something right away for no reason other than you don't like it.
So I guess using the like kind of like crossbow analogy, prior to all of this, prior to the March meeting or whichever one falls on your timeline, whichever meeting that was where the NRC met, how did you feel about these other types of hunters, this other type of hunting, as far as coyotes? And was there animosity, I guess, from your end and the group of people that you surround yourself with? And also to that point, because I had, from following your page and some other guys in Michigan who coyote hunt, there seemed to be, I don't want to say like necessarily like bad blood, maybe bad actors who were calling other people for trespassing and, just kind of like wreaking havoc. So for yourself, where I can come on here and I can say like, how we feel about like crossbows and crossbow season and all that stuff. And, obviously that's a double-edged sword because some of it's in jest, like really, I don't care, but I'm not going to be the first guy to be like, congratulations, you shot a Boone and Crockett buck with your Raven crossbow at 100 yards. I mean, there, I don't even
But you're
know, like,
also not going to be the first guy, Adam, that gets on there and shits on the guy.
right.
That's where my I respect you for that. But there's a lot of people that don't do that. Just because, I mean, social media, this is where a lot of the devil of social media comes in. And it's been a talk across multiple podcast platforms for a long time, was this could be what essentially ruins more of this for us than helps it. But for me, animosity towards like other methods of hunting, not at all. I don't care. As long as you are doing it legally, and that's been my only problem ever with anybody else doing this. If you're trespassing on ground you have no permission to be on because, quote unquote, my dog can't read a sign, that to me is not a legitimate excuse. I understand it, I get it, but it's not legitimate. If you're posted up on a landowner's farm doing a drive and you don't have permission on that landowner's farm, I have a problem with that. But everywhere else around there that you got permission to be on, dude, have at it. Kill them. Have some fun with your buddies. I am all about that. I don't care. The animosity inside, I mean, you've probably seen it inside the coyote world. A lot of that stuff comes from I think egos a lot, and I'm not one that has no ego, but uh, the need to be the best and to be the most known and to kill the most and to have your name on the most plaques and to have the most sponsors for hunts and stuff. That's where a lot of animosity starts with people, because people that you used to be friends with are all of a sudden working with a different company, and now all of a sudden everything that you guys have always done is all of a sudden junk. It's stupid, and that's where the kind of stuff, that's where people start to bite each other's heads off for no reason when we're all supposed to get along and just enjoy this. um yeah, I don't have, I never want anybody to not be able to go do what they love, because I know a whole lot of people that, man, if they couldn't go sit in a tree stand every year, they wouldn't want to make it through the year. I know people like that. Fishing, I know people that love to go fishing, but just because I don't enjoy going to sit out and try to catch some carp, I'd rather go after crappie, doesn't mean that I'm going to go take it to the NRC and say, I really don't want that guy fishing for carp over there when I'm trying to fish these docks for crappie. We need to change that. That's not how I am. Just learn to get along. But instead, this wasn't a learn to get along time. This was a watch these other guys stomp on us and watch everything we've done and tried to change and tried to make positive and uh, just been involved with get taken right out from underneath you.
So I'm having like some sort of like internal struggle here. Uh because I've seen and even just recently today or this week, like one of the postings by I have to imagine if it's not, it's someone along the same lines as like that Matt Ranella, hunt quietly thing where
Yep.
he's just shitting on all these influencers and probably like me and you, right? Because we put our stuff out there and we are passionate about this, and there are some people that are, that's their job and it's what they do, because like you said, it's what they love and they've figured out a way, uh no matter right, wrong, or indifferent, to make a living at it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that there's a lot of like what you said there, where dollars get involved and things have to die, and you have to show proof of concept and look at this, and whether you did it legally or illegally, we got to pose with our deer.
Yeah. Shoot,
Well,
look at the buck that just got taken out of Ohio.
oh my god, that
I
that
mean, what for? What for? Because you could be known for it. That is why you made that stupid decision that probably now is going to affect you for the rest of your life. And we've all been there. I made a lot of decisions that every night I go to bed and I'm thinking, man, how could I have done something that dumb? How could I have been that person? And you have to grow from it. But man, dude's in trouble.
well, and you think about that, like every other person that saw or had a picture of that deer could have made those same choices. You could
Yeah.
have just broken the law and went and shot him and pretended that it was yours. And like on some level, that's the way I feel about, you know, high fence ranches and stuff like that. Like it's not a trophy to me.
No,
For
that to me isn't
lots
even
of
a
different,
hunt. That to me isn't even a hunt. But at the same time, I'm not going to go tell them you can't do that. That might look bad to anti-hunters.
yeah.
Well, what business of that am I?
But what I'm getting at here is like where I find like this big impasse is that so you and I, you talked about like my daughter's hunt, right? And how happy she was to see that deer, and like how everybody that I've ever shown that video to is like so excited for her, for that experience, to be able to have that on video. I mean, you said you have an ego, you kind of have an ego, whatever, but you can only have so much ego if your daughter's killed the biggest deer in your house, right? So you can,
Bro.
but 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 you have that video of your daughter killing the biggest deer that anyone in your family's ever killed,
Yep.
and the excitement in your face, and and your whole family coming out there to get that deer, and just how blown away you were. And are we not supposed to share those moments and collect those? Are we just supposed to have them in a scrapbook somewhere for no one to see? Or are we inspiring a whole nother generation to females in this case, of young girls going out there having father figures in their life that are bringing them out and involving them in what we do, being present? Are we not supposed to do that because someone else might not like it or whatever? It's a very weird thing, because I completely understand, like, the hunting quietly, in the sense that, like, I didn't even know that people could hunt coyotes with hounds. So maybe they're like the quiet old dudes who are like, well, I'm done with this. Look at all these guys. They're making coyote hunting cool. So they're using all this newfangled thing and it's killing all of our coyotes, and it just ruins the whole thing. But are we doing the same thing by making public land hunting cool? The hunting public, all these other things, born and raised and hushing, getting all the people excited about elk hunting and public land elk hunting. And it's a double-edged sword, because tags and pressure and the health of the herds, all of those things come into play, but the dollars that are going into those economies and the Pittman Robertson Act and all of that stuff. So, like, now you're in the middle of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you, I guess, how do you proceed from, you know, with Overdrive Outdoors, what you're putting online, how you're presenting yourself, and then in turn doing that same thing in the whitetail world?
I can tell you straight up that I'm not changing a thing. I'm not. I'm one that will try my best to learn from my mistakes. I'm not going through my page. I'm not deleting anything. I'm actually, you've probably seen some of them. I've added some pretty spicy ones towards the NRC in the last couple weeks. I am not going to change who I am for anybody, because this is who I am. This is who you get. If you are an anti-hunter and you don't like seeing dead animals, stay off my page. I don't like abortion. I don't go troll abortion pages and call people names. I don't even go fight against it, because it, again, is not my life. I'm not in your shoes. I can't make that decision for you. But I'm also not trying to change your ability to make any decisions. That Oh my gosh. Time out a second. I got to rewind. I'm going to take a drink with you. Can you reiterate the question again?
So as we move forward, and we
Oh,
are
I got you now.
we're understanding that, the things that we post, or how we act towards other hunters, other methods of take, other seasons, other species, things that we think don't matter to us. How do we portray what we're doing in the spaces that we cherish to be able to continue doing those things?
Well, I mean, you definitely, and myself included, have to think about what is posted. I mean, as far as photo, as far as video, you don't always need the biggest blood trail. You don't. Do I like to post my blood trails? Absolutely. Why would I not post a blood trail that might recommend a product to you that I'm showing you right now? This is how effective it can be. That's what I like to do. But yeah, we need to, number one, man, we got to stop the online bickering, because no matter what it is, it could be somebody could be writing all this down, and the anti-hunters are in the background just laughing at us as they watch us tear ourselves apart. So when I mean, on my page specifically on Overdrive, we don't allow that kind of crap. I mean, I'm going to post somebody that sends me a successful crossbow kill, because I don't care, man. The dude's got a smile on his face. He's happy with it. I'm not going to go, just same with you. Okay, yeah, you might have shot that at 100 yards with a crossbow. Fantastic. As long as he's happy with it, he did it legally. He bought his tag. He did all that stuff. I should have nothing negative to say about it. And I think a lot of people have to just start doing that. You have to start keeping your mouth shut more than more than you're writing nasty things online, because they do take that stuff and just use it against us. I mean, they know how much infighting there is inside the community of hunting, and that's all hunting. That's deer hunting. That's small game hunting. That's coyote hunting. They know it. These the anti-hunters we've known infiltrate a lot of these hunting pages, and they might go in and have pages full of, dead animals, but they've stolen all those photos just to get approved into some of these groups. And we've watched it because we've seen people post things, and it's like, now wait a minute, you're on our hunting group, but at the same time you're over here posting stuff about completely opposite, opposing directions. And that's where we start to see videos made up of photos from tournaments and stuff like that, and massive just bloodbaths on the pavement of these tournaments, just so it can make it look the worst possible. And we've seen that too. People actually buying tournament entries to come in for the banquet and just take photos and videos, and they work for HSUS or PETA in some way, and they paid the entry fee. How do you weed that out? So if they were there though, and we could clean up the event a little bit, or we could clean up the fighting that's happening out in the parking lot because somebody's animals got taken, all that kind of stuff, if we're giving them less ammunition to run with, we have to, as Kevin said so eloquently at one point on my podcast, we have to take the bullets out of their gun, not load it like we just did, because we just gave them the bullets. I don't know if
So
that answered your question.
yeah, I mean, it, obviously you're really passionate about the coyotes thing, and that's kind of what you're dealing with now. I'm just trying to extrapolate it like into the whitetail world, and that's what I mean about like the hunting quietly type thing, where like I hate that. Like
I hate
I
that
don't
too.
because I think yes, there is, there is a big problem with social media, and I think it's more from like the consumerism side of it. Like you need to buy this latest, greatest, and everything is in front of us that's so cool, and we can see the benefit, and the marketing is really good. And to a degree, we're all part of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 100%. Like, but I also feel that we should be able to share what we're doing, and that it is effective, and how things are working. But I don't understand that need to like tear other people down,
Mm-hmm.
especially online. Like if you're in person and you want to tell somebody like you're not excited about their trophy because it was with a crossbow or something like that, that's on you. That's between two people,
Yeah,
right?
and if you got your teeth knocked out 5 seconds later, that's your own problem, man.
Yeah. And I mean, I can tell you, like, I know it's on the podcast here somewhere. Um, we were in Ohio, and guy killed a beautiful, I mean, I think at the time, probably in person, the biggest buck I'd ever seen. It was probably 160, crab
Nice.
claws on the end, just a huge buck down in Ohio. And the guy's telling the story, and he's like, yeah, and I shot it with a crossbow, and like literally John turned around and just walked away. He was like, not interested. But he didn't, and he told us, he's like, as soon as he said crossbow, I was like, this guy's a clown, like, got lucky, whatever. But he didn't say anything to the guy. He didn't, you know, make a big stink about it. He didn't try and, you know, tell the guy he did a bad job. It just wasn't as exciting to him at that point. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't as cool. And, that's the same thing as like if, I shouldn't say if, I should say when I kill that monster 3-point with my trad bow, I'm going to be the happiest dude in the whole wide world. And I'm sure that there's going to be people that are going to hate that,
Oh yeah, because it's only
but,
3 point.
it's unnecessary, and it won't hurt my feelings at all because
And it won't change anything.
yeah, I know. And, and that's the thing, is like, that's what I think more of, like, you know, and I think that there are people that don't post that wouldn't post that 3-point because they're, they don't want the hate and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And maybe I'm, and maybe in the worst verbiage ever that we're bringing up on ourselves by posting anything is like we're just inviting people, whether it's any of the deer that are behind me, like, oh, could have used another year, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big it is. Like I said, I've said it a million times, but to me, bucks are like boats. It doesn't matter. You can spend your life savings on $100,000 boat, which if you've ever looked at boats, it's not that expensive. And then somebody pulls up with a $500,000 boat, and then the next one's like $1 million boat. It's
Yep.
like, your 110-inch buck that you're super excited about is nothing to the guy that kills Pope and Youngs, and those Pope and Youngs aren't 140s, and I only shoot
Yeah.
booners. So it's just there's always going to be somebody else bigger and better. So like if it makes you smile, whatever.
Dude.
And I don't, you said it. I don't care for that either, which is like, it's your hunt, your tag. Like, I feel like that's like the ultimate like cliche. Like, if it makes you happy, then good. Like,
Yep.
because I mean, I feel like there's lots of people who shoot things that don't make them happy,
Oh
but
yeah,
they
for
they
sure.
they feel pressure to do it,
Yep.
you know, or they feel like, if the when the first words out of your mouth are like it's not the biggest or whatever, then you shouldn't have killed it, or
Dude.
you're doing it for the wrong reason,
Yeah,
right?
I hate it when you see posts like that, and you'll see that even on first, my first deer. I know it's not the biggest. And it's like, dude, were you happy that it was your first deer, or weren't you? If you were, leave it at that. You're gonna get opinions on everything, man. You just got to be willing to let them go, you know, in one ear and out the other, and not care about it. But I also don't agree to the hunt quietly thing, because why should we not be able to have a voice? Why should we just get shut down and be told to be quiet? I mean, why can we not share what we love to do? I mean, Facebook anymore, even the reels are full of, mostly topless women and everything else. Why can't I share a coyote hunt? Because that might be looked at negatively. I mean, and that's what it's all about, is how it looks to a lot of the people. And yeah, I just think a lot of people, and again including myself, sometimes we need to learn when to be a little more quiet, but we need to be more supportive of each other. I mean, there's so many people that hate the youth hunt, the youth deer hunt, and however you feel about that, it's your opinion. For me, I love it. I can get my kids out there. My kids really like to go hunting when it's warm out and they don't have to go freeze. I mean, they're fair weather hunters. They're kids. Now go fight against us and get that taken away, and think that it stops there, because it won't. I mean, that's just a stepping stone again. And when you give them all the stepping stones, they're just walking up there to take the rest. My ultimate thought in the end, and this might be, my tinfoil hat, and buddy Elliot Hubbard has said it before too. I think the goal in the end is, once they've taken away everything we can hunt, why do you need your guns anymore? You can't hunt anything. Why do you need your guns? And I honestly think that that's the way that things are being pushed. I mean, with our current administration all around, it seems to be one of the big things is gun control. Well, if you start taking every reason we have away to have the guns that we do have, in the end, why do you need your guns? And I can foresee that being a question. And man, we just got to all stick together the best we can, and see this kind of stuff through and fight alongside each other. I've made apologies to some people because, when it comes to antler point restrictions, dude, I'm not going to go get on and sign anywhere, go speak positively on that, because, again, I want to just be left alone. But at the same time, I got people who are fighting alongside me for our coyote season and for the Proposal G issue, that are major proponents of that kind of stuff. And I've told them straight up, if it's not ever that I've never supported what you wanted to do, but I also can't support them. I wouldn't have gone up to this meeting and said, yeah, if you think this is going to be the best thing for all of us, then you go ahead and do it, because then it's taking away everything that I love. I don't want to do that with anything, but I also I don't want anybody else to feel like they can just go step on everybody, which is what just happened, and say, well, because we say we don't like it, we're going to get it changed. And I mean, I don't know, man. It just I don't believe again in the be quiet part about it. I believe share it all. If you don't like it, don't look at it. And if you don't like something about it, don't say anything about it. You know, just move on, man. We just the hunting has gotten so it's gotten to be to where so many people got to have the best. They got to have the most. They got to have the biggest. They got to have this or this or this. And there is so many less people, I think, out there doing it because of the love for it. And it's sad to see, but I don't know. Where do we go from here? Man, hopefully positively forward with everybody at least being able to see somewhat eye to eye and get along and deal with things on a personal level rather than just go right to the top and screw everybody, you know, because that's not the right way to do this.
So I guess my only last thing on like the hunt quietly thing is, and like I said, I'm completely conflicted about it. It's not going to change anything that I am doing necessarily, but maybe it makes me think differently about maybe some of the things that I would do or do, and definitely the way that I see other people. And if I guess if I guess to me would be like if I saw you getting overly spicy, I might message you on the side and say, "Hey, Josh," because we have so many people in this community, right, who are in
Yep.
these same spaces that we were like, "Hey, if you saw something that you thought was detrimental, you might take that person aside and say, "Hey, did you ever think about this or this or this?"
Yeah.
But I think that to that point, like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And so that's why everybody's flocking to Tennessee to go turkey hunting, and everybody's going to Colorado for elk, and to all these places, which isn't necessarily like a bad thing for hunting, but it may be a bad thing for the resource. It may be a bad thing for the hunt. It may be a bad thing for, everybody goes and
Yep.
hunts Ohio now. Everybody hunts, Kansas, whatever. Pick your destination hunt that's been featured on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think maybe that's kind of the what I'm kind of talking about is like, you don't. Well, I can say honestly that Josh has photos of giant deer that he doesn't go
Ever kill.
but this is true. Maybe you need your daughter to do that for you. Um, but he doesn't like post where that's at because you don't want it. You know, you don't want all the other hunters there, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so there, this thing is like multifaceted. There besides just the negativity amongst hunters or amongst that, like what the proposal G is supposed to take into account is the resource itself and
Correct.
scientific stuff. And, sometimes, if we decided to say that, we want to pay a whole bunch of influencers to come to Michigan and kill deer and say that it's the greatest thing ever, it might, if there weren't enough hunters here, then there'd be way more hunters. We'd be dealing with out of state people, and we'd be dealing with a lot of different things, and it might not be what's best for the resource or our hunt or any of those things. But how do you see, I guess, going forward for people who are listening to this and who are saying, man, I don't want that to happen to my state. I don't want that to happen to my whitetail hunt, my turkey hunt, my, fishing season, whatever. I guess hindsight being 2020, could you have seen any of these things coming? And is there anything that you would do differently going forward as far as like being more involved with organizations? Um, you know, what does this look like going forward for the rest of us to kind of help make sure that we're still able to do the things that we love?
Well, I mean, yeah, like I said earlier, you definitely got to be somewhat mindful of what you're putting out for everybody to see. Um, I this was blindsided, not from the side of, PETA, HSUS, and everybody coming after us, but it was a blindside from the hunting community that came after us and literally helped them do this. Um, uh, I guess, I mean, if you don't have open communication with a lot of different people, that it makes it a little bit tougher, because the two people that specifically went up and smeared mud on me, I had never one time heard of them, heard their names, seen them anywhere until they got up in that meeting and did what they did. So I mean, if I would have known of them again, I would have preferred somebody say, "Hey, man, you're posting some stuff that's going to be really, really bad, and we need to work on it." And there was ramblings about stuff like this for 2 years, but it's ramblings all the time of people who apparently didn't want to tell you why they were saying it, that knew that there was something coming down the pipe, because I've heard a lot. I mean, in the last couple months, I've learned a lot more of what went on with all this. Um, Apparently, it's been talked about for like 2 years with people not liking this. Well, where in the 2 years did anybody come and bring the issue at hand to the people that were causing the issue? If I was causing the issue, man, send me the message. That's what I want to know, because we have to police ourselves. We have to. I mean, I really don't trust the DNR to do the policing at all anymore in this state. We have to police ourselves, and that's the bad apples. That's everybody that does the things that specifically look the worst on us. We kind of have to manage that. Um, I was never on anything, any kind of association. I was never on any kind of board or anything, but I started paying entry fees to, or not entry fees, but a membership fee to Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association 2 years ago. And that for me is saying, it's $25 a year. This is something I love to do. And Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association has like a legal defense fund and everything set up, and all that money comes from memberships. That's the kind of stuff that they're running this current fight off of. Michigan United Conservation Clubs is the same thing. I am not a member of that one because I haven't done enough research on that one to want to give my money. But I know where Michigan Trapper and Predator Callers Association money goes. And now that I know that, I could have been paying for the last 20 years, $25 a month or a year, and all of that money would have pooled up to been able to continue the fight legally now that we're getting involved with. And Michigan MTPCA, they do other things. They do banquets and all that kind of stuff. Every year they do a trappers convention, and now it's turning kind of trappers and calling, because trapping is kind of, I mean, it's not dead, but it's a majorly dying thing. So, I mean, that kind of stuff definitely helps, getting involved with companies or organizations that are helping to fight back for your rights and get a bunch of people that are like-minded in the same area. But you got to do your research on that. Again, I sat back for a long time and just said, just leave me alone. I don't want to get involved. And like you said, I'm middle of it right now, and the mud is so deep that I can't hardly see out of it. I mean, it's the political BS exactly that I knew it was going to be, that I try my best to stay out of. But Kevin has always told me since I've known him, if you don't want to get involved in politics, that's fine, but one day politics will get involved with you. And I didn't ever see it until just this year, so what he says is true, and what people say about voting is true. The way you vote has repercussions, positive or negative. And that's where we're at right now, with a 100% governor picked NRC for our natural resources and wildlife management. And that's the kind of stuff that even I didn't know. I didn't know that if Whitmer got in office, she was going to put the people in charge of my wildlife, my animals, the animals I love to hunt, the animals you love to hunt. It's people that have no experience in it that are in control of what we do. And that is very scary. So, I mean, the way you vote matters. Get involved in some organizations if you can. In Michigan, MTPCA and MUCC, again, are both trying to sue the NRC, essentially. They've both filed for it. MUCC, I think, filed in Ingham County, which puts them in Lansing or something like that. But MTPCA filed in Mackinac County up in the UP. So we're hoping that that'll kind of fall a little bit more favorable with it being a UP judge that we get to see up there that might have somewhat of knowledge on predators because of the wolves and the coyotes and everything else up there. They know, they deal with it. The people down here in Lansing sitting in an office, they don't deal with this. And I mean, we got to be proactive somehow that way. And I mean, again, voting certain ways, getting involved in organizations. And for me, man, I'm just trying to be a loud voice. At this point, I'm pretty well hands tied because of the illegal stuff going on. Now I'm just trying to keep people engaged and know that, there is still stuff happening. There's still more things that we're learning as it goes on. I just found out today, actually, that I think it was a senator. Um, don't quote me on that, but somebody put in for a new House bill to make this back into a year-round season, but they're showing that they're adding you must have a fur harvester's license. Another 15 bucks in the DNR's pocket. Kind of funny how that plays back and forth. Again, they're imposing more fees on just giving us our rights back. I have to buy a fur harvester's license anyways to hunt during a certain time of year and to take fox. So I'm going to have one anyways. But they're like selling us our right back now. Well, you can buy this license for 15 bucks. It adds more revenue. Man, it's just a twisted mess. And yeah, getting involved a long time ago before today would have been the most beneficial for me. But again, hindsight being 2020, I wanted to be left alone. Now I haven't been left alone. Now they've came literally picking at my door and everything I love and everything you love. Hunting in general now is under attack. This is so far above and beyond coyote hunting that we can leave that part out of the whole conversation. Proposal G and their ability to just step on it and tell you that what you voted on as Michigan residents who voted in 96 for this and got it passed, they just stepped on everything you voted in. And they showed that it didn't bother them one bit to do it. And that is scary.
Yeah. And, from the bow hunting side of it, there's the Michigan Longbow Association and the Michigan Bowhunters Association. And the way that it was explained to me, and I'm a member of the Michigan Bowhunters Association, is that when they go to try to change any of these laws or they want to do anything, the Michigan Bow Hunting Association goes there and they say, we're elected by our members and we speak for these many thousand members. And the more people that are members of the Michigan Bow Hunters Association are, the more people you get taken more seriously, whether you're, if you go there and say, well, I'm the member of the Michigan PSE Shooters Association of Dalton Township, the membership of 5, they're like, okay, well, awesome. But if I'm the Michigan Bowhunters Association and I represent this many thousand bow hunters,
Yep.
well, now they're going to listen a little bit more intently.
Yeah, that's
So
like MTPCA. I mean, let's say there's 4,000 members. That's 4,000 votes that they get at the table that day. So, I mean, it definitely helps to become a member. And what's Michigan Bowhunters like? Is that a yearly fee?
yeah, same thing, like 25 bucks.
Yeah, so it's nothing, man. It's nothing. I spend more than that on snacks just to go out for a night to go coyote hunting. I can do that for a year and know that at least I have a vote. At least I have somewhat of a say because, I mean, I'm friends with a lot of the people from MTPCA. I'm not a board member. I'm not sitting on any of these meetings, nothing like that. But I can talk to the people inside it and know what's going on. And that to me makes me feel like at least I got a little bit of a voice. Whether they take it or not, that is what it is. But my vote is now in favor of MTPCA and what they are going for. And right now, that is for Proposal G and to put us back to the season that we should be on, which is year round, unrestricted. Just take the coyotes. We're not going to stop them. I mean, we've said that many times. As many coyotes as I can kill in a year, we are not going to ever stop them all. So putting them back on a 9-month season is only going to negate everything they did since 2016 when they let us go. And I mean, a lot of people, landowners, Yeah, I don't hear nearly as many of them as I used to. I don't see them like I used to, but you're welcome to come out anytime and try. I mean, that's what these landowners want. And right now, so I'm able to do a nuisance control hunt, and that would be on any farm that's got livestock, damage to livestock, chickens, cattle, whatever it may be. But then they've got a so gray line with their wording on it because it says within a reasonable distance of the livestock. We'll try to get somebody from the DNR to tell you what a reasonable distance is. That's going to vary county to county, road to road, and officer to officer, and I guarantee it because we've already talked to a majority of them. There's a lot of our officers that don't know the laws at all. They don't know that you're able to go hunt them with any legal method. They think that calling is illegal. If they're doing damage, you should just be standing in the pen with the cattle over these newborn calves and shooting the coyotes as they walk in. Not the way it's written. The way it's written says we can do this by any legal method as long as it's a nuisance control. No problem. But you won't give me that distance. You won't tell me if I can be on the neighbor's farm because he's got the wide open field and this neighbor's got the chickens, but the only spot I can hunt it is 200 yards through that tree line. They won't tell me if that's reasonable. If they catch me out there, they could write me up as a poacher, and then I've got to go fight that and get an attorney. They've got me kind of like bound right now to where I don't even want to risk my rights for the rest of my life and be known as a poacher because of what they did. But at the same time, man, I got landowners calling like, "Hey, I heard them last night, and they were over here by the chickens, and I saw them in the calf pen earlier today, and need you to come out." I'm like, they don't want me standing in with their calves and shooting a rifle over top of cows, and I won't do that. I'm not that guy. But can I be on the back field because it's the same landowner? Well, nobody will tell me that. So it just uh, the way they've done it now is like basically how it always was. I could get a permit, I could go out and nuisance hunt, but right now I have a lady whose dog got killed in February by coyotes. I am not allowed to hunt those coyotes right now because that dog's already dead, so they're not a nuisance. A coyote that killed a dog is going to kill more dogs, but I can't go hunt it because it's not a nuisance. Now, if you have a chicken get stolen, I can go out there and hunt that coyote no matter what, just because it's a chicken. If you have a dog get attacked, you have to call a biologist. The biologist has to come out. They have to write you a permit with my name on it as a designated hunter, and then I can go out there and get that. But your $2.50 chick that you've grown for the last 6 weeks that got eaten, I can go protect that anytime, but not your 13-year-old dog. It's a joke. They got it. They got so screwed up, man. So my voice through MTPCA is and my page is what I'm trying to use the most that I can right now. And we just got to continue to fight forward, not against each other. And just, yeah, man, when you join something like that, just look into who you're joining, look into what their reason for being there is. For MTPCA, I know that they support what I want to do. They support my way of life, and that's who I want my money going to. So definitely, yeah, look at those places that can be a bigger voice for you, but be willing to help them when they need it, and that's a big thing too.
And so let's shift gears here just a little bit. And and I don't know what kind of turn this has taken or if it was brought on by this, but I think it was in the works prior to that. Was you're talking about trying to bring people together and everybody be on the same page and kind of have the optics that you're looking for and the environment that you're looking for. And so you've been working on like maybe trying to put your own hunt together, your own tournament. And so can you tell us a little bit about that and that process?
Yeah, that there's a lot of stuff still kind of under wraps with the whole tournament that we're going to put on. I'm not even sure that I'm going to call it a tournament. I'm probably going to call it just a hunt, because the anti-hunters have already said that that's one of the next things they're coming for is tournaments. Um, the way I've seen tournaments from when I started doing them, it was all just guys on the same level that didn't know a dang thing about what they were doing. And, at the end of a weekend hunt, you might have 5 to 10 coyotes hanging on a pole. And all those guys got along. They all sat there, they laughed, they had a good time. They were there for the hunting part of it. Now it's gotten to be to the point where there's so much money involved, and there's the trophies, and there's the, again, the need to be the best, needs to kill the most, needs to have the best gear, all this stuff that I've seen that negatively affect every tournament I've ever done in the state. And I think, again, it's because of a lot of people like the competition, and that's fine, like the competition. But man, a lot of people do a lot of dumb things for a competition. A lot of people do a lot of dumb things for a lot of money, um, trespassing, that kind of stuff. People will do stupid stuff that they might not want to get caught doing to get that notoriety and to get that paycheck. And I've seen it happen. I'm walked out of a tournament in January completely disappointed with the end result because it was a religious organization putting on this hunt. And I saw that same attitude infiltrate that hunt. You know, this hunt that I did was, the goal was to get people out there coyote hunting, get them out there for a good time, and share a message of God, share that ministry. And you know, I'm not the biggest God person. I'm not a church goer, nothing, but I enjoy going to these because Ross, who that puts on the Sports Persons Ministries hunt every year, he's a good guy, and he wants the people to be there for the right reasons. And he wants nothing more than to just be able to pray over people and get them into the same room. And to see that need to be the best attitude infiltrate that hunt, dude, it just set me on a whole different wavelength, because I walked out of there and said, I got to fix something. I got to do something to change this. So my goal, and it's going to happen, I'm going to make this happen however I got to do it. If that means I can't have a tournament, but I can have a get together in my front yard with a bunch of dead coyotes, that's what I'm going to do. But we are going to do a 100% for charity hunt. I want to be the hunt that the anti-hunters can look in on and say, look at these assholes that killed all these coyotes, and then they donated a couple $1,000s to good causes. You know, if you want to be the one that wants to cause a big fit about that, you sleep on it. Go ahead. But we're doing something better with it. This is my opinion, is going to get the guys back in the room that want to be there for the right reason. You know, I go to the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast hunt because I like the scenery, I like the people, I like the experience, I like the environment. I don't go there, dude. I sat in my truck in the rain the most of the time last year. But I wasn't there because I had to kill something. I don't think anybody was up there because they had to kill something. You had a good group of people. That's the group of people that I want at my hunt. And we're breaking it down so there's no set entry fee. It's going to be basically an entry fee of your choice. The price on that, I haven't yet put 100% in stone, but the little guy that wants to just come to a hunt because he's never been to one and he knows he's not going to win is more than welcome to come to this. You know what? You're a winner in my book because you were willing to come put your money on the table for something better than just filling your own wallet. You wanted to come learn, you wanted to come sit, you wanted to come have the experience of a tournament. But the pressure, man, the pressure's off, because at my hunt, in the end, what you kill does not matter. And it's not going to matter one little bit. The only things I'm giving away for the top 3 people are going to be plaques. That's what you get. You get a plaque saying that you participated in this and you happen to shoot the most that week. But you're not going to walk out with a fat stack of cash. I think that will delete a lot of the need for the negativity that we've seen infiltrate this stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff that's still in the process. I've been working on it since January with quite a few people helping. I did partner up with Sports Persons Ministries so that we could have the 501c backing on that hunt for a charitable organization. I just want to, man, I want to show that we can get together and not just kill stuff just to kill stuff or just to fill our pocket. I want to show that hunters can actually come together, get together in the same room, and do something better than what we've always done. I can't find another hunt like this out there, and I have looked. There's some that, yeah, they donate to charities, which is awesome. but there's always that little payout on top. I'm deleting that. There's no payout for this. The payout is you. I'm going to do my best to guarantee that everybody walks out of that room with an item off that raffle table, which is your entry fee. Your entry fee is getting you raffle tickets. You're going to be guaranteed the best I can to walk out of there with something saying, hey, thank you for coming to this hunt. And it's going to be luck of the draw. If your name gets drawn and you could only afford so much this week, and you bought one raffle ticket, but you get drawn first, you could go up to that table and walk out with something you have wanted and not been able to afford your whole life because you were willing to come give to something better than just you, or just your selfish needs. That's what I want to do, man. And I know I can do it. We've got the backing. Right now we're sitting at, I think, 39 companies that have already said absolutely anything we can do, man. Just let us know, because nobody does this. It's all about who can be the best, who can kill the most, who can look the best for their pictures. And I don't want that, man. I want the fun, the sportsmanship part of it, the just the excitement of being there and being able to come share a room with the same like-minded people again, and in the end not care how you did. I mean, I've entered so many tournaments in the last couple of years that I pay the entry fee, and if it looks like it's going to be crappy weather that night, dude, I'm in bed by 10 o'clock sleeping like a baby. And I go in the next day to check in, and I'm like, everybody else looks pretty tired, but I feel just fine. I just gave away some money. But for me, it's for that. I like the fellowship of the people there for the most part. So, and that's what I want. That's what I want to get into a room, man. I want to get the guys that, I've had guys that haven't done tournaments in 10 years. And they're like, yeah, we'll be coming, because this is what we got out of this stuff for. There's a lot of people that know that we need to see it. There's a lot of people who have tried to make things happen and never actually done it. I'm doing it. I mean, it's going to happen. We're doing this so that, I want to be the first one that everybody can finally look at and say, holy cow, they did something good with their time and their money. And the fact that they went out and killed all these animals wasn't just for a dumpster and a pocket full of cash. I don't want that. I don't want that look on all of us, because that's not who the majority of us are.
Well, that's awesome. I can obviously relate to that because, like you mentioned, that's the way that the hunt that we do is just for the experience, not for any ego. And you'd be so surprised, when I was at that veterans hunt and I was talking to some, you know, very, high level hunters and guys that own companies and all different stuff at the HHA Vortex event there. And as soon as you mention like no ego, people, they're like, nobody does that. That's so great to hear that that's not what it's about.
Yeah,
Because it's really turned that. And I'm sure if you're a company owner, everybody comes to you and says, well, I'm the best at this, I'm the best at this, I'm the best, give me your stuff, pay me money, da da da, I need your stuff because we're gonna have the best, it's gonna be this.
yeah,
And you know it becomes a very me instead of about the community as a whole. And I think that kind of you know embodies like this whole conversation about getting back to the hunting community and understanding that you know even if you wanted to take it one further and not say as hunters but just as outdoorsmen,
mm-hmm.
or people who enjoy the outdoors and the resources that we have. I think that's tremendous. And the fact that you've got that many companies on board, just kind of I think cements the fact that there's it's not just you that thinks that this is what we need.
Exactly.
And I'd imagine, knowing you and some of the companies that you work with and the people that it's probably not even just a predator hunting community. These companies, it's probably just outdoor companies saying, hey, we need to come together and be
Yeah,
a good face on something in a very kind of negative space, right?
exactly. And that's what that's kind of my selling point for this. I'm asking for help from all these companies, no matter who they are. If it's Broadheads. I've got Broadhead Company already willing to step on board for this. I've got predator calls. I've got, I'm trying to break it up so that there's a little bit of something there for everybody. If you want a half a dozen arrows, you can walk up there and grab yourself a thing for a half a dozen arrows custom made for your bow. It might not be predator hunting related, but you could use that. You took that off that table, man. Thank you for coming and showing support for something so much better for once. And I've thrown a lot of money away at these tournaments knowing that I wasn't going to win them. It's never been about winning to me, but I wish that they weren't always about winning. And that's what they've turned into. And that's not what it's got to be about. The Patreon hunt, man. Yeah, the guys that shoot, I mean, Kyle shot his first buck, right? First bow deer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gave him crap. What was it? A spike? It was a little guy, but nobody gave him crap, man. He was so proud of that animal, and everybody was there just supporting him, just like they should be.
Well, and everybody was proud of him.
Yeah,
Like that's something that you just, you uh, that's something that's very hard to like articulate. But imagine like you're in a scenario where you're surrounded by guys, like yourself, like Tim Clark, a lot of the guys there killed lots of deer, and big deer, and they, pride themselves on hunting. And you're a guy that's never killed a deer with a bow before, you know, and it's got to be somewhat nerve wracking. And then, to add insult to injury, you missed earlier in the day. And then, we're guys are
sorry,
razzing and stuff
Kyle.
like that. and it makes you, you got to have like this trepidation and all that stuff. And then even going back to like what we said earlier, you shoot a deer, it's like your first deer, and then it's maybe not what social media says is like cool. And now you're bringing this deer back, and you got to face these guys who've killed all these deer, and you got to bring it back. And not a single person in the group said, could have used another year, could have did anything like this.
I would have walked away from that conversation right
We
now.
could, but we couldn't have, but everybody there couldn't have been any happier for
Yeah.
him. And, I mean, he got or would have had a free shoulder mount out of the deal, and turned it down, but all of just that one experience with, you know, I don't know what you'd call it, a campground, a field full of killers,
Fun time, man.
and just what an epic experience for your first deer to be able to share it, and to, and then he was walking around like he had the biggest pecker in the room saying like, oh yeah, I'm King Buck. Like, I don't know. I'm the only one who killed the buck. Like, I don't know. And nobody could say shit because he was right, and it was just an awesome experience. And that is what's fun about it,
Exactly.
is bringing that camaraderie back to the hunting space instead of, and I've said it a bunch, we do this, and I know because of the deer that you're chasing and some of these things that you're doing, we're plagued kind of by this like solo hunting adventure. Nobody wants to go to the spots that I want to go to, and to find someone who wants to do that sort of thing is you know is a weird feeling. And then you shoot a deer back all by yourself, and I think about like, you've killed some deer that have been, great deer and all that stuff. But I think of that double main beam buck that you killed with your brother-in-law and the whole experience there. And there's a whole nother feel to it when there's other people involved. And it's not saying, look at me, but it's just being able to share it with somebody instead of just being like, I've said it a bunch on the podcast. I've had the conversation many times, but like one of my buddies who's just a murderer, right? Once that deer, you release that arrow and that deer runs off and falls over, like you're excited, you're happy, but like kind of like the hunt's over, like the
Yeah.
fun part is done. And if you don't have anybody to share that with, like immediately, then it's just work at that point, and it's like, okay, now I gotta do this and do this, and like I love the chase, I love the hunt, but moreover, I love the high fiving, whether it's you shot a deer or I shot a deer or like whatever, and I can imagine I've never been involved in one of these tournaments, but whether you're winning or you're just there to kind of see what's coming in, I imagine it's the same way as like hunting in a hunting camp where the hunt's never really over until that last guy comes in because you always want to see like what your buddy's coming back with if there's something else, and like I say that once you remove that ego from it, the camaraderie is there. I mean,
Yep.
that
Yeah,
that's that's the coolest part.
yeah, and there's like I said, there's a lot of guys that do it because they love the competition, and hey, if that's how you like it, man, keep on entering these other hunts. I have nothing. I would never go say that I wanted all the other ones to end, but I do hope that this is copied. I mean, really, I hope that somebody in another state copies this idea and it just takes off because, again, man, I've been Overdrive has been a thing since 2014. I got like 3 companies that I work with it on Overdrive, and that's hardly even. But for this hunt, man, it was so much easier for me to sell this idea of, yeah, exactly, getting people back together for the camaraderie and the fun of it than it is for me to go to a company and say, hey, I kill a shit ton of coyotes and I'd really like to do it with your gun. I don't like doing that. That's not me. I don't sell myself like that. But I want to sell this hunt because, man, I want to see the room of people who aren't sitting there shit posting each other on Facebook at the same time as you're sitting there pretending to be excited for how they did in a hunt. I've seen it. I've seen that kind of stuff. I want the guys to be everybody come sit at the table and everybody just talk, man, and come see everybody's animals. And at the end of the hunt, what you did didn't matter because the end result is that we did something so much better. That's what I want, and that's what's going to happen.
And so what are you looking at as far as timeline? I mean, obviously you got some time to think about it now because the season's close. So
Yeah, that's exactly why I've been rolling on it for right now, man. January 3, I'm going to be the first hunt of the year. I want this one to be the first one that people see that when it's time for tournaments, this is the first one that pops up in their mind. I've already got a venue picked out, hoping it will work, but we might have to do some changing around depending on the popularity and the size that this gets to, because right now I can see it already getting bigger than I thought it might for the first year. But again, I think there's a lot of people sitting out there that want to go back to that good time camaraderie, just there for the hunt, man. So January 3, it's going to be just a 24-hour hunt. It's going to be a one-nighter. And right now, the venue is in Holland for the banquet that next day. I mean, I got saloon willing to come in and provide the soft drinks and stuff for the banquet. I'm working on food. I got tons of giveaway items already promised to be given. And I'm still working on more with a lot of help from other people. Kevin Rott, again, man, I need my Kevin to keep me grounded. We need that. We need them people as friends to be there for us with, I need my brother-in-law there when I kill a deer because, man, that guy keeps me grounded. He does. When I shot that double main beam buck, I probably would have pushed him right into the Kalamazoo River because I don't know when to stop tracking. And my brother-in-law is there to ground me and say, hey, we really need to think about what we're doing. We can see it sitting there looking at us. We need to back out. I still didn't want to, but that's like my Kevin Rott, man. Kevin Rott is my business partner with Overdrive, has been since day one. He has always been a help with this kind of stuff, but he's there alongside me to help me make decisions on this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's going to be huge, man. January 3, I plan on it being a lot bigger than I ever expected it would be, but I also had a feeling that it would do this, and that's what I wanted. But it's going to be, again, a 24-hour hunt. We're going to plan on having a lunch and a banquet and everything the next day. And again, in the end, the kills aren't going to matter. So if you don't want to hunt all night, go hunt for a couple hours with your buddies. I'm also going to open this up to everything in season at the time. I mean, you're going to have raccoon, you can have possum, you can have bobcat, coyotes, fox, everything in season will be able to be brought into this because it's not a specifically, oh, who killed the most. That's not what we care about. It's how much money can we raise to benefit hunting the outdoors in a much bigger aspect than just right here behind these closed doors. And we're going to rock it, man. We're going to rock it.
Awesome. Look forward to checking that out, following along. And if anybody else wants to follow along or wants to kind of keep tabs on this so they can get more information as it comes out, where can they do that?
Yeah, right now, all the information that we're going to be posting is going to be either on my personal page or the Overdrive Outdoors Facebook page. I do have a Facebook page set up for the hunt right now, but it's a private page, so I can get everything squared away and in order before we start getting people there. But it's going to be called the ATC, and that's answering the call. And I kind of did a play on words there, as a predator caller. I go out there and I want these coyotes, these fox, everything to come answer that call and come into me. But I'm also trying to answer the call for the need to be something different, the need to see something better. So I kind of did a play on words there. I had Rachel Schock design the logo for that. Um, yeah, I mean, if you for now the information I'm just sharing very little bits and pieces at a time. You probably got more information on this podcast now than I've even put out publicly, but we're going to have a Facebook page for the hunt itself. But for now, Overdrive Outdoors Facebook page or my personal page, Josh Mapes. I'm not very hard to find. Warning, you might not like everything you see there, but again, I ain't changing a damn thing about me, man. We got to change a lot of things internally, and this is how I want to try to do it.
Awesome, Joshua. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this, and you're obviously passionate about it. So it wasn't a difficult conversation in the least bit.
No, and I really tried to do my deep breath exercises and not start yelling and calling names. But man, I appreciate you having me on. This is 50% of what saved my life, literally. And now they're taking it, and now I'm pissed. So I gotta fight. I gotta fight back how I can.
Well, awesome. Hopefully somebody out there is listening and they're kind of on the same page and they want to join you in that fight. So again, thanks a lot, Josh.
Thank you very much. You have a good night.